You know, when you're making some VFX or some UI animation and you want to export from inside of Blender square loose images like these to then put them into an Atlas square one like this over here, let me show you really quick how to do this in today's video. And before we move forward, I really quickly wanted to show you my use case of why I actually decided to go after creating these frame animations and putting them in square atlases. So I have my fantasies tower, and under I've made these like cards that are facing us, and they have like a magical orb on each. And this orb is actually a flipbook animation that uses these are some of my atlases that I created entirely in Blender. A few of these are experiments like this star, but I believe that the one that I used at the end is this. And with the flipbook and the coloring in engine, the end result is that. So yeah, this is the type of VFX that you might want to use this approach that we are about to go over in Blender 4. So stick around. I'm not going to show you how to create the material or the orb itself. We're gonna do it with a cube as seen in the previous image. So let's get started. I start with a blank Blender scene, and for once actually I don't think I'm going to delete the cube. I'm going to keep it there because next I want to actually animate it really quick for you in order to export as a frame animation, so we have something to work with instead of like just a blank thing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press Shift A, and then I'm going to add a camera. So you can either search it up here, it's right there, or you can just search. My camera just goes directly there at this angle, and next what I'm gonna do is press here, move it on one axis, rotate it a little bit like so. Better yet, I can actually just like keep the location here to say 7, 0, 0 rotation. I want 90, 0, 90. And this way you can see the camera first from here. It's actually pointing towards this side of the cube. And then, so I don't get lost, I'm gonna select this in set and then go in. So that way this cube just has that here. And then on the other side, I'm going to go from here to the middle. I hold Shift, and from here to the middle. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I just want this illustration for teaching purposes to be a little bit easier to understand. So I'm inserting these shapes there, so once we start animating this, you can actually see stuff. And now with this camera placed over there, I can either go to View and then Cameras and then Active Camera, or this menu here actually set it that if I press numpad 0, I will actually possess this camera. Possess it for a moment, and here you can actually see that the size of the screen essentially is non-square, and for my purposes here, for what I'm trying to accomplish, I want it square. So I'm going to click on camera and then green for the data settings of the camera, and I'm going to change a few things. So I'm gonna keep this as it is, but I want it orthographic actually. This is again up to you, but for the type of VFX that I created in my project, orthographic worked a little bit better. So yeah, I want it orthographic. And then what else I want to do? I want to go to output, and in the output here I want to change it to 1080 to 1080. So this way, like, it's actually square. And now there's a lot of empty space, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna scale the object up. Either scale it up or bring it closer to the camera, it's up to you. In this case I just decided to do that. And yeah, like the first part is done. We have camera, it's set up to actually be square. If I went to render and then image, I would get like a single image of this cube, but there's no light, there isn't anything, so like we need to do a few more things. So what next? Let's create sun, light sun, and here let's switch to this viewport. Let's rotate this sun a little bit. So I switched to the fully rendered one, and now if I go in this, you can see that it looks a little bit better. I want the background to be black because that was something that's really useful for me. So I think you can probably change the behavior of the blank background, but I'm gonna be lazy and I'm gonna do this instead. And here in the material, create new one, call it black. And then for base color, let's go just black. There we go. And for roughness, let's just go to like 0 maybe. Yeah, perfect. So again, like these yellow lines indicate the region of what my camera is seeing through. So next up, while doing the stuff, kind of lost my, well, I went to modeling, so that's why I lost it. But if I go back to layout, you can see that here, I actually have the timeline. And what I'm gonna want to do here is, with the cube selected, I want to go to the orange object tab. I'm gonna apply all transform to lose the scale one. And what I'm going to do here is my flipbook needs to be a number of frames, number of images. So like each frame here will represent one image. I need a number that produces a square root full a whole number. So I want, for example, my image to be 16 by 16. So 16 on the power of 2 is what? Is 256 frames. This is a little bit too much, by the way, perhaps. So let's aim for like 12 by 12, for example, which would be 144 frames. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go to the 144th frame, and here I take a mental note that this will be the end. I will actually change it over here, here. .144, there we go, is the final frame. And I will really quickly start to animate. So what I'm gonna do is I'll possess the camera, I'll select the cube, I will make it so it rotates. So here I'm gonna go to this and tap them all, and I'm gonna go about somewhere in the middle, so like 72 or whatever, and I'm going to rotate it a bit like this. I don't need to be precise with anything, just having a little bit of fun for the visualization purposes. And here I click on this and I click on that, and now, oops, and now we can see this movement happening. If we click play, and then I could either like stop here and play the flipbook backwards in Unreal, for example, but I don't want to do that. I just will go to the last frame and I'll reset it back to 0 and 0, and I'll press on them again. And now what we have is a fully looping animation, which is really cool. Let's take a look. There's one problem that you can probably see over here. We're touching the bounds. So how I like to fix that is like I pause and then I find the frame where like it kind of goes like wrong. And here I'm gonna like slightly scale it down, but this scale I'm not going to animate. So this scale got applied to all of it, see? There we go. And I could change the material on this because it's honestly a little bit ugly. I could do a lot of stuff to it, but I'm not going to because I want to keep this simple and quick. So this is good enough animation. And now if I go to render and then I say render animation, I start extracting individual frames. Cool, and we're done. I don't know where we saved them, so let's take a look at that. So I'm going to select the camera, and then on the camera I'm going to click output, and on output you can see that my images are being saved to a temporary folder. So I'm going to do a few changes here. I'm going to select something better fitting, and then I will also Color depth and stuff like that, I'm gonna keep it the way it is, to be fair. Like RGB, probably not, because I don't have alpha, PNG, whatever. Like, you do it the way you need it. And then I'm going to very quickly hit render animation again. And there it is. The result is wherever I selected 144 frames. And if I were to quickly move through them, you can actually see that they're animated. So next up, how do we turn them into an atlas? So in order to turn my loose frame animation into an atlas, I personally randomly off the internet found this open source software. I am not affiliated in any way with them. I don't know who made it. I just know that it works for my use case. I also had a little quick look to see if it's safe. Seems to be. You can do your due diligence and research on it really quickly and decide whether it's worth to use it or not. Also, maybe double check licenses and stuff like that for whatever use case you want. But either way, download it from here, and then let's head into it. So I am in this texture Atlas Toolbox, and in here I want to go to generate, and I want to add files or folder. Let's say folder. I'm going to navigate to this temp folder that I didn't change, but you navigate to yours. And once I've selected it, it actually imports all of the animations and it uses the name in order to order them. I'm not sure why it says 288, to be fair with you. Here it says 144, whatever. It seems to have worked the correct way, so that's good. And here, something that's important to mention is the packer method. From automatic best fit, you want to change it to simple row packer, because I found out that if you use the automatic best fit, it will actually reorder some of the frames in some way that it tries to be intelligent, and then it will write information about this change of order in an XML or another type of software, another type of file format. And for my use case in Unreal Engine, I don't want any of that. I just want a final PNG with the packer being simple row packer. I leave it to PNG as format. All of this can stay the way it is. Minimum atlas, blah blah, all of that. Let's just keep it as it is. Generate, and then I'm gonna navigate to this temp folder again, and I'll say final text texture final Atlas Cube. We let it work for a few moments, and it's successful. You can open it. And here is the final result. And now, there are a few issues. First off, I guess I didn't count right. And let's troubleshoot really quickly. So 2 issues, we start from frame 1 instead of 0. And from 1 to 144, there are 143. So let's say that the end is 145. And here, let's select this and drag it by 1 frame. Then let's re-export our images. And while this rendering, I'll take a moment actually to quickly tell you that the way I've animated this here, by pressing the way I did and everything, my animation is not flat. It has some curvature to the way the movement in this cube happens. So pay attention to that when you're making your stuff, because maybe you don't want it that way. You can actually see it if you were to go to view from timeline to instead graph editor, and then let's move it up and let's select this. See, so it has this bit of nice curve, which I actually like, but you could select it and say interpolation mode linear on either way, and this way the animation might not do a little bounce as it rotates. I do like this bounce, so I'm gonna keep it. Anyway, all of the images exported again. We go back to this, and here I clear all and I add, but in this folder there's actually, so let's add files instead of folder, because I don't want to include the atlas into the atlas itself. So the frames are 145 now, it says. Should be correct, but anyway, now I want to say padding 0, this is what I missed first time around, and I say generate, and here I'm gonna call it cube B. Save and generate. And it's successful. Let's open it up. And there we go. This looks much better. There's no padding in between. We did the math correctly this time around, so we have the correct amount of frames. I could now import this into Unreal, create myself a Flipbook animation material shader, tell it that my Atlas is 12 by 12, and I could play this rotation of a cube. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was useful. Okay, we're recording. Let's sync the audio first. And another time. Is that, yeah?